everyone. Welcome back to Women's Splain. Today we have a very special guest, Natalie Borowski. She is the CEO and founder of Sailor Siren, a new lobster roll pop-up concept in New York City, and ex-VC investor. I'm going to pass it over to her, give a little intro, and then we'll dig into like my favorite food, which is lobster rolls.
Yes.
So I'm pretty pumped.
Hey.
Yeah.
I love to hear that because it's my favorite food too.
It's a great choice. It's a great choice.
I will eat this every day for the rest of my life.
Especially, yeah, I felt like I was way too old when I learned there were warm ones too. Like
Yeah.
the cold ones,
Ooh.
like they're both good, but I'm a big
Oh, we should
warm.
talk about
Yeah,
that.
let's
because
talk about
I
it.
obviously have a lot of opinions about that.
Okay.
But thank you for having me on
Of
this
course.
pod.
So give me an intro and then we'll dig in. Give me an intro. Okay.
Amazing. Thank you guys so much for having me.
Yeah,
It
of
does mean a
course.
lot. You guys rock and this pod rocks.
Aw.
And thank you listeners for supporting you guys.
Oh
I
my
love
gosh,
it.
I love it.
Yeah. So I'm Natalie. And like you said, I'm an ex-VC. But in terms of starting my career, so the three of us actually went to college together.
I know.
Which is really
Throw it
fun.
Blow
Yes.
it back.
So yeah, in school I studied finance and management, and I minored in computer science.
Damn. Okay.
And then
Wow.
I know,
I didn't know that.
crazy.
Oh,
Yeah, I know
I
a lot
didn't know that
of
either.
people don't know the computer science piece.
I mean, I remember thinking you were really, really smart,
I mean,
and I was
yes.
intimidated by you, and I tried to get you in all my
Okay.
group projects. But that was about it.
I like no way that you were intimidated, but
I try to take 6
I feel like it's the
101.
reverse, maybe. But we'll take it. But yeah, I mean, I do love computer science. Anyway, Penn was awesome. And as what a lot of people from Penn go into, I started my career in management consulting. So I worked at McKinsey. I actually really loved it, and I primarily focused on consumer.
Cool.
So worked with a lot of the big Fortune 500 CPG and retail companies doing growth strategy. And I also did a lot of due diligences. I worked with private equity firms, helping them diligence consumer brands. So I had a really great experience. That was super fun. While I was there, I also did what's called a secondment, where you go to work somewhere else as if you're full time, but you're still
It's like
kind
a
of
sabbatical kind
It's like a
of
sabbatical where you go an
externship.
externship, exactly,
Cool,
where you
cool.
go work somewhere else, which is a very, very cool perk of consulting.
Yeah,
I think.
totally.
And I worked at Estee Lauder companies.
wow.
I worked,
Okay.
I worked at the brand called Lemme, which is a
Wow,
luxury skincare
yeah,
brand.
do you
I
get
love
discounts?
Lemme.
Yeah,
So
well,
good.
not anymore, I wish. Their products are incredible. But I got to do brand strategy and global marketing for them.
That's really cool.
Which was super fun. And then I moved on to work in venture capital at Coefficient Capital, which was a consumer growth equity and VC firm focused on the intersection of consumer and technology. And we invested anywhere from Series A to pre-IPO.
Okay.
I kind of wanted to go into venture because I've always had the concept of starting my own company in the back of my head.
Yeah.
And management consulting was a great way to kind of learn business fundamentals. And then kind of moving into venture was a great way to kind of like dip my toe into entrepreneurship, but get to kind of see a variety of companies and kind of work with a portfolio of founders, and also just kind of get to support the entrepreneurship ecosystem from the investor seat, which was super fun. But it was always kind of meant to be a learning experience in a way to then kind of get me to my entrepreneurship journey. And so ultimately, like, that voice in the back of my head of like, want to start a company just started getting louder and louder. And that's kind of why I left and decided to do this.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And I'm sure when you're in VC, like you were seeing all these companies, early stage, growth stages. So you're probably like, okay, I can probably do something similar or something that I'm passionate about.
Yeah, and it's inspiring when you're a VC, just being surrounded by founders who are chasing their dreams.
Totally.
I think anyone who starts their own company is just an absolute badass. Am I allowed to say badass? On this
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. We should always say all the time. Bad fucking ass if you want to say it.
Okay, perfect. Like, I don't know what the like censorship aspect of this is, but yeah, I just found it really inspiring to work with those founders and getting to support them, and it, I think, further pushed me to be excited about starting my own thing, and I think it taught me a lot of really important skills for that.
Amazing. And obviously you did, like, I mean, one, you saw the company kind of from four different angles, but then also it seemed like you were always kind of in consumer and beauty. What inspired you to pivot to food?
Yeah, so I actually also did a lot of food work.
Okay. Cool.
So yeah, when I was at McKinsey, I did a lot of food work and beauty work as well.
Nice.
And same thing at Coefficient. We did beauty and food. We kind of did like across the gamut. And honestly, when I was leaving Coefficient and thinking about starting my own company, I had a list of ideas that I was working through. And I kind of had worked on each of them to like little different, like varying different stages. And I think what ended up making me pick Sailor Siren was, at the end of the day, it was the one that I just got the most excited about, and it brought me the most joy, which is kind of funny because if you did the traditional VC diligence analysis on it, it probably wouldn't have been the one you picked from my list of the ones I was working on. But I think at the end of the day, you kind of have to go with what drives you. And I just really love food. So like food is joy. I grew up my parents are immigrants from Eastern Europe, and like very much part of our culture is like food as a way to bring people together. Like food is joy, food is medicine, food is community. And so I've just always loved food. I think it's a great way to just, bring joy to humans. And so I've always been interested in doing something in food. And there's a whole story behind why Lobster in particular, but yeah, I love food and I love the food industry, and I think it's really interesting, and I have gotten some exposure to it in my time in consulting and venture, and it ultimately just ended up being the one that fueled me the most compared to, the other categories that I still am excited about, but I think this one just kind of like hit at like a really personal point.
Have you always been a cook?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I love cooking.
Yeah.
And it's kind of funny now that I started this company because like I'm a solo entrepreneur, bootstrap.
Yes, which is interesting.
Yeah. And like, it's funny. Like someone at one of the pop-ups asked me, "Oh, who does your recipe development?" And I was like
me.
like
Me.
I guess
Like,
me, but I
myself
didn't
for
think
that.
about it that way.
Yeah.
And I was telling someone else about what I do, and they're like, "Oh, so you're a chef?" And I was like, oh, I didn't label it that way, but it's just kind of fun that now I get to wear all these different hats.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I come up with all the recipes. I do
Wow.
make all of the food. And yeah, so I love cooking. I love feeding people, even just like on a personal level. Like I love hosting and making food for my friends and my loved ones. And it's just really special to be able to bring that into a business that I'm starting.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I
And
know you're. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. And I know this isn't your first venture. You also created OGC, right?
Yes.
Which is amazing. And I feel like there's a lot of crossover between community and food. So is that what kind of started your journey on kind of creating a food pop-up?
Yeah, exactly. So I actually think you hit on that exactly. Like I think community and food are the things that really do drive me.
Yeah.
And so OGC was a community. It is a community, right? The Only Givers community. And the idea was to bring people across the venture ecosystem together who would help each other and like be vulnerable and authentic and like give.
I think that inspired us to start Women's
Yeah,
Lane.
it really did.
Like,
I
when we
remember
went
that
to-
one
yeah.
event
Are you serious?
that
It was
I
like
went.
3 months before we started, and we were like, oh my God, this is amazing. We've always been talking about doing something.
Yeah.
Like, let's do it.
Oh my God!
It
Wow.
was at
I'm
your
so
apartment. I remember
at your
very
apartment.
clearly. It was cold.
It was like probably around this time of year.
It was
honored.
this
The
time.
first one was like around October.
Yeah, it was like
Yeah.
October 23,
November,
and then we
yeah.
I
started
remember.
January 2024.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, wait, I love knowing that. And
Yes.
I'm so honored. But that was kind of the goal of those
Yeah.
events, to
Yeah.
kind of like inspire people to
Literally.
do things.
Yeah.
So I'm so glad that it worked. And I do think that food and community are closely tied. Because I love bringing people together, community focused. And then I think food is one of those things that can support that.
Yes.
So yes, I do think that those themes are very present in my life. They're priorities for me. They're things that I care deeply about based on like my upbringing, the way I was raised, and just like how I interact with people I love. And so we actually recently did a Sailor and Siren supper club this past
Aw.
Saturday. It was the first one we did. And the welcoming speech was literally like, today is about community and food.
It's amazing.
And so I love that you like picked
Yeah.
up on that
Yeah.
thread because it's just so spot on.
I know, and I think it's super interesting that you became a solo entrepreneur because I feel like you are so relationship driven. Being able the fact that I know you, which isn't, normal for our guests, and like obviously I've known you since we were like 19. Yeah. I'm like, Natalie is the most involved girl at school. She was president of everything.
Yeah.
She was in charge of everything. She was management TI, like whatever. President of her sorority,
Yes, I
like
remember.
everything.
I wasn't a management TA, but the other things are
Okay,
too. But
like,
thank you for
whatever.
hyping me
Okay,
up.
I really thought you were like head of
you were in
Management
Wharton.
100.
You're in some Wharton club. You're in one of the Wharton clubs.
Yeah,
retail.
it was Wharton Women.
Okay,
yeah.
I was in
Women,
Wharton
yes.
Women
But
too.
yeah,
Whatever.
we were in that together.
We were in that
yeah.
together. Yeah, whatever. You were in so
Yeah.
much stuff. Okay. And it's really, so what drove you to start your company without a partner? I think that's super interesting. It doesn't really seem, kind of on brand for you. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. And I think one of the things that I'm trying to do with Sailor and Siren now as a solo entrepreneur is find more collaborators.
Yeah.
So like with the Supper Club, I actually worked with 4 other Greenpoint local small business women entrepreneurs who like
That's
did
really
it
cool.
with me. So I'm definitely, as a solo founder, am seeking that because you're right. It's like it is something so core to me that I want. Like I would have loved a co-founder. I just think the way that this one started, it was very almost spur of the moment where I was like, I wonder if this would work. And then I got interest and then I had 2 weeks to like whip it together. So I think and then like it just started growing from there. So I think kind of just by the nature of how things happened, it ended up being a solo journey. And now I'm kind of trying to build community around it and bring people into it. But if I ever do something else or like if this goes in like different directions, like I am always open to collaborating and working with people. So yes, like I agree, it's surprising, and it's kind of just it's like a situational thing of like this being very rapid fire, like start a business in 2 weeks.
Which is crazy.
Sort of.
Yeah, we should definitely dig into that.
Yes.
So obviously you're at Coefficient, you were there a while, which is, you know, consumer focused VC, just for people to know. And then I think you left and you were like, did you have the idea, or were you kind of figuring out what you wanted to do? I don't know.
Yeah, I left with a list of ideas, and this one was on the list.
Okay.
And I purposely gave myself a few months to like not fully launch anything, but just like to give myself a little bit of like mental space to think and like lightly work on things and see which one was exciting, and actually like try to be true to myself of which one's going to bring me joy. Because if you asked me when I was leaving Coefficient which one I would work on, it wouldn't have been this. It would have been ones that were more obvious from a VC analysis standpoint. But I think now when I think back on those, I wasn't actually incredibly passionate about them. And I think passion is really like what
I mean, it's so hard to build a company. You have to love it. You have to love it.
So I think the fact that I gave myself a little bit of space helped. Like after a couple of months, like I woke up one morning and I was like, I'm just gonna start a lobster roll brand.
Wow.
And then that day I was like, okay, I'm gonna walk around to local businesses and ask them if they would be interested in a lobster roll pop-up. And I walked around to my favorite bars and cafes, and I literally just walked in and I was like, is the owner here? Is the manager here? Like, ask them, like, do you do food pop-ups? And then if yes, would you want to do a lobster roll pop-up? Almost every single person said yes. And they were so enthusiastic that a lot of them were like, yeah, let's put it on the calendar right now.
Like, oh no, I have a name.
Oh my God!
Wow. Yeah, and I was like, okay, like in my head, I'm like, I guess we're gonna just make this work.
You're like, well, I guess I have an event in 2 weeks, and I have to create an entire company. So we're gonna do it. I will say, I mean, if anyone can do it, Natalie can do it.
Yeah, I totally agree.
I'm like, literally.
You guys are the best hype girls ever.
No, but it's true.
That's literally true. We would not say
Always
that.
so impressive. Okay, so tell us about Sailor and Siren. Tell us, like, what is the menu? Why do you love lobster rolls?
Yeah, what's your
Where's
connection?
the inspo from? Like, just tell us. Tell us a little why. Lobster rolls.
Totally. So I grew up in New York.
Yeah.
You know, immigrant family. Like I said, love food. My parents are entrepreneurs. Like other people in my family are entrepreneurs. Like always had that interest. And then I met my now husband about 10 years ago, and he's from Maine. And his parents own a lobster wharf up in Maine.
Really? Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay, I did not. That's so funny. Okay.
So literally a decade ago, I go up to Maine to visit his family on this lobster wharf, and I eat a lobster roll. And having grown up in New York, I'm like, oh, I've had lobster rolls before.
Yeah.
Like, I know good seafood. Like, we're near the ocean. It blew my mind.
Yeah, you're like, Maine is different. This is unreal. Yeah.
It is different for some reason. And it was probably the best thing I've ever eaten. It quickly became my favorite food. And for the next decade, I was on the hunt for a good lobster roll in New York. And I couldn't find one. They are all bad.
They're all, they totally are.
Yeah.
And really expensive.
Mm-hmm.
So expensive. The meat is super, like not very much of it.
Yeah.
They're really limited. They're really small. Like,
not
fresh.
fresh.
And they're only really in the summer. The fact that you're still doing pops in the winter is pretty cool, too.
Yeah. Well, I think common misconception, actually, is people think that there's, like, a season for lobster.
Yeah.
You can actually get fresh lobster all year round.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Which a lot of people don't think
I didn't know that.
about.
From different regions, right?
Yes, but you can get like Maine and Northeast lobster all year round.
Wow.
Too. It's just, I think people associate lobster with like going to New England and sitting by the ocean at a lobster shack, and it's too cold over the winter, so those lobster shacks are closed. So it just like culturally, in terms of like that experience, has become a summer thing.
Yeah.
But you can still get lobsters.
That's so interesting. Yeah, because I mean, it just feels so all-American to, like, you know, go to Connecticut or Massachusetts or Maine and, like, go sailing and get a lobster roll on July 4th. Like, that's how it feels.
Yeah.
You know? It's like a Ralph Lauren commercial.
Totally.
You know?
And you're not going up to Massachusetts in January
No,
when
you're not.
it's, like,
It's
really
horrible.
cold.
It's horrible.
Yeah.
Like,
We're going to Florida.
Yeah,
Literally,
exactly.
I mean, like, literally.
Yeah.
Okay, so then you have the best lobster roll of your life.
Yeah,
You
so-
go on a hunt.
I
You're
go on
like,
a
it's still
hunt.
not here.
It's been a decade, still can't find it. Even the ones that are really expensive, like you said, it's like not enough lobster, like you're hungry after, or it's like mixed with too much stuff, or the lobster's not fresh, it's been frozen, the texture's off. So many reasons why it's not good. And I just like didn't understand why. So I was like, I want to make the best lobster roll. And I was like, it kind of feels like there's a market for this, and it's been in the back of my mind. And then, like I said, like one day in May, at the end of May this year, I just like woke up and I was like, I just want to do this.
Wow.
And so you called up Reed, my now husband's parents, was like, can I buy lobsters from you guys?
That's amazing.
So I have a direct source to lobster, which helps.
That's
That's
for sure.
great.
No, but that's
Yeah.
awesome.
And where in
Are
Maine?
they family-owned business?
Yeah.
That's super cool too.
So the wharf is family owned,
Wow.
and it's the oldest working lobster wharf in the Mid-Coast, Maine.
wow.
Okay, so it's like generations.
So his parents are the ones who bought it, but it was
Okay.
family owned before. Like they bought it from a
A
family.
family.
Now a lot of lobster wharfs are owned by larger companies,
Mm-hmm.
but like theirs isn't. Like they just own this lobster wharf.
That's awesome.
And
That's amazing.
it's and I mean they're in the seafood business, like in other things as well. But the lobster wharf is on this place called Spruce Head Island in the Mid-Coast, Maine. It's like really beautiful there, and like you like can meet the lobstermen, and like you see the boats come in, and it just like it's obviously the freshest lobster. It's just such a beautiful, also like community feel thing, which I love. And so I think having a direct supply of lobster helped me start this business in 2 weeks.
Well, yeah, of course. Well, it was the inspiration, so
Yeah.
it's kind of like full circle, right?
Yeah, exactly. It is full circle. So anyway, I was like, I want to make the best lobster roll in New York. I have a direct line to buying great lobsters. And I have a perspective on what makes a good lobster roll in terms of like what I've eaten in Maine. And I'm just going to do it. And I think the best way to kind of like proof of concept test this out would be to, partner with bars and restaurants and cafes in the pop-up model, which is what I've been doing. And it kind of started with a very limited menu. I've kind of been adding some things with like doing specials and like testing other stuff now that it's getting colder and people have less of a lobster roll association. Like what else can we do with lobster? If I can still get fresh lobster, there's a bunch of other dishes.
Ravioli, bisque.
Lobster bisque.
The bisque has been a huge hit.
I love a bisque.
Yeah.
This is great.
Yeah, the bisques aren't that easy to make, and it took me a lot of time to perfect.
Are you
my
making
bisque.
everything yourself? Wait,
I'm making
rewind.
everything
Yes,
myself.
like, what are you
We gotta-
cooking?
we gotta go to your first event. Where you call up and you're like, just send me a bunch of lobsters in my New York City apartment. Just
So it
like what
shows
is there?
up in
And
a
you're
box.
like, are you like literally gutting the like I don't know, they're hard. Are you cracking them open and stuff yourself?
Yeah, so another perk of this is
Okay.
that the wharf also they actually can cook the lobsters and process them there,
Oh,
and then
that's great.
send me the meat.
That's good.
So sometimes I actually do buy lobsters if I'm
Yeah.
like for the dinner, like I actually did full lobsters, in which case like I buy the lobsters and I
Right.
cook them myself and then serve a full lobster. And sometimes I will buy the lobsters and like crack them myself and like pull out
Yeah.
all the meat. But I do have the option of like also just buying the meat directly
I
from
mean,
them.
for like mass events, I don't even know how you.
Yeah.
You'd have.
Well, yeah,
it's
it would
so
be yeah.
time-consuming.
And what I also really like appreciate about this like direct line that I have through my in-laws is that the way that they cook the lobsters is also I think really different from the way that like if you were to buy lobster meat from like a really big processor of lobster, that's another reason why lobster rolls don't taste that great is because oftentimes like that lobster meat is just like not cooked in a way that makes it taste super good
Right.
because it's like sitting around
Preservatives
for
or
or
chemicals.
like it's overcooked.
Yeah.
Like they'll cook a lobster and then like it'll be out for a while before they pick the meat out, which means like it's still cooking and it'll get overcooked.
Yeah.
Versus like when you're cooking it like in this, because their business is a family business. Like they have a family business where they have the wharf and they also cook lobster meat and they also like, will sell fish and things like that. But everything is small batch. So when I buy lobster meat from them, like it's cooked in small batches. It's put directly into like a saltwater ice bath so the cooking stops. It's picked by hand. Like everything is just like done with the highest quality in mind. So part of like I'm very lucky in terms of being able to start this business so quickly, like within 2 weeks, was I had a direct line to like buy really high quality lobster meat. And I also like through that know how to cook lobster meat properly when I do have to do it myself.
Yeah.
And I think that that's like a really big difference in terms of the quality of the roll.
For sure. Okay, so you literally say, hey, mom and dad-in-law, send me a bunch of lobster meat, or 2 weeks they send you, and you're like, all right, I have to make the butter, get the rolls, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, totally. So the way it works in terms of like before every pop-up, like a truck comes down from Maine with lobsters and or lobster meat in it. I meet that truck like in the morning at 5 a.m. in the Bronx, grab it.
Oh my God.
Wow.
So it's like, it is
Wow.
fresh. It is fresh.
Damn.
That is fresh.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
like-
feel like we need a behind the scenes of Natalie in the Bronx.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I have taken videos of it.
I feel like we need a video. Okay,
Yeah.
okay. And then you
So,
bring
yeah.
it to your Brooklyn apartment.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful apartment, but it's a little New York City apartment.
No, yeah, for sure.
And you cook yourself?
Well, so if I buy lobster meat, that's ready. It gets like it's on ice, and then basically like the way that I think a lobster roll should be cooked. So there's a lot of people ask me Is it Maine style? Is it Connecticut style? Is it warm? Is it cold, right? So usually, like, if we're going to break down lobster rolls, I don't know how, like, deep in the weeds you want to get right now.
I mean, I love Maine
my husband's
style.
from Connecticut, so he's a big warm lobster roll fan.
You know so Maine style is cold and
Yes.
Connecticut is warm. And people also associate that as, like, Maine is cold and mayo and Connecticut is warm and butter.
Yeah.
And people are like, what is yours? And I'm like, it is both and neither. It's the Sailor and Siren version.
Yes.
So our version is that the lobster meat is cold. Because I think, like, when you cook lobsters, you got to chill them. You take the meat out. You chill the meat. It, like, should be chilled. When you warm the meat again to make the lobster roll, you are now overcooking the meat because it's already been cooked. So I don't love that.
It's also just, like, a lot more efficient if you don't have to reheat it, right? If you're literally throwing an event, you're like, it's chilled, it's done. All I have to put it is on a roll, right?
For sure. Although if I believe that it would be better if I heated it up, I would do that.
Yeah.
And I just don't. I think, like, if you're heating it, you are overcooking it. Like, I think the texture of warm lobster rolls, like, it is worse.
Okay. All right.
In my view.
Cool.
Yeah.
No, I believe you.
So I think
You know more than me.
So my opinion is, like, the meat is chilled, so that's cold. I also don't like mixing it with anything. Like, I think a lot of Maine style ones mix it in mayo.
Yes.
That's a lobster salad, all right?
Yeah.
So lobster salad roll versus a lobster roll, in my humble opinion. So the way we do it is, like, New England split top bun, so it has, like, you know, it doesn't have crust on the edges. It's like bread on the edges. You toast it. You put a swipe of mayo on the inside. You put your chilled meat, and then you drizzle it with hot butter. So there is a warmth element.
Love.
The bun's warm, and the like melted butter is warm, but the mayo and the lobster meat are cold.
Oh, that's so nice.
And there's not, like, that much mayo, not that much butter. It's like, really, I think what's different about us is the focus is on the lobster meat. Like, it's letting the lobster shine, because lobster is delicious.
Yes.
It
So good.
really doesn't need much. And a lot of places don't let the lobster shine, and they also don't put enough lobster. So we have a whole lobster in each roll.
Wow.
And that's really important to me.
Oh my gosh,
Dang.
I love that you said that, because I also
crazy.
love the cold meat of the lobster, but I hate mayo. So I always ask for, like, a butter, and they're just like, "What are you talking about? Like, this doesn't exist." I'm like, "But I swear
But
it's
it
good."
should. And
Yeah.
some people will say, like, I don't want the mayo. Fine, you
Yeah.
don't need the mayo. Or, like, I don't want the butter. Like, that's fine. Like,
Yeah.
I can give you bread and lobster.
Yeah,
like, if you
DIY.
need
That's
anything.
fine.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Well, also, I mean, obviously you have the highest quality lobster meat coming from a small business in Maine. It's a short transport, obviously, and probably a lot of other places are not getting that level of quality. So they sort of have to hide the taste, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And all right, wow. And are you serving these events yourself? Well, like, tell us about the first
Yeah,
event.
how was
talk
the
about it.
first one?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the first one I was obviously very nervous and, like, didn't have a good system for it. And, like, even it's funny, it's like the outlets for, like, the griddle, like, kept turning off at the bar. It's like, you know, there's always, like, a lot of unknown things, and, like, it turns out that the hot plate I got from Webstront, like, actually like pulls a lot of power, so, like, that needed its own outlet. You know, there's all this stuff. The first event my husband helped me with.
Yeah.
So very lucky to have a supportive life partner to work that first one. But then, like, now I have an amazing employee, Christina.
Awesome.
She helps me at each of the events. So she helps cook the lobster rolls. And I have, like, some other people that, you know, if she can't work that day, you know, contract out some other people, but have really, like, kind of to your point of, like, building community around it, have just tried to find people who are also really excited about food and excited about building something new to kind of work with me and get this going. And so I have people to help me on the day of the events, but on the days of where we don't have events, it is just me, like, figuring everything out. And back to the story of, like, that 2-week thing.
Yeah, please tell
You know,
us.
like, they're like, okay, let's put it on the calendar. The first one we put on the calendar, literally 2 weeks from that date. And I was like, okay, well, I need to come up with a brand name. Yeah, I need to call my in-laws. That part was easier. I need to figure out, like, what the menu is and what the recipes are and, like, what to include. I need a logo. Like, I need to form an LLC or a C Corp or an S Corp question mark. Like, I need to open a business bank account.
Yeah.
Like, I need to get a POS, like, in order to charge people money. Like, there was just, like, this list. I need to get, like, liability insurance, right? Like,
Oh my gosh.
like,
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
there's, like, a list of
Yeah.
stuff. And I think for me, it was really good that I just woke up one morning inspired to do this and then was given a deadline, because I got all that done really efficiently in 2 weeks and, like, you know, got merch and, like, the signs and everything. It's like, if I had overanalyzed it, I probably would have delayed. I would have been like LLC versus C Corp versus S Corp, like, which one is better? Which one is tax optimized? Should it be based in New York? Should it be based in Delaware? It's like, versus this was like, call a lawyer, like, tell me which one's the cheapest, fastest, and easiest.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I can change it later, you know?
Yeah.
And it's just like, you just kind of just have to do.
I mean, we were talking about this. Like, that's how we're trained. Like, from school to our first jobs, VC, P, whatever. Like, we're trained to make it, like, no mistakes and perfect. And, like, just, like, going through the details. So I feel like it was good for you to just be like, okay, I actually have to do this, or else.
Totally.
But how did you like figure out your name? What's the story behind that?
Yeah, once I was like, okay, I'm doing this, I kind of just sat down and started brainstorming a list of ideas, and I came up with like 10 and then just sent a survey to friends. And it was like, love it, like it, neutral, hate it. And this one had the most like combo love and like with no hate.
Okay.
And then again, I was just like, pull the trigger.
Yeah.
It's
like no time to waste.
No time
I mean, you're like, it has a domain. Like, let's go.
No, exactly.
Yeah,
it's like I did
domain.
and then I did a trademark search on some of the other ones, and like they like didn't work, or it was too close to something else. And and I was like, I kind of like this one. It
Super
kind of
cute.
like, it has like character to it.
Yeah.
Luckily, like, I have a friend who is great at graphic design, so once I had the name, I was like, pull together a logo.
And it just feels so Maine, and like it does like really evoke that lobster roll. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it does make you feel like you're in Maine eating a lobster roll in the sea. Do you know what I'm saying? It feels very American and classic, which is awesome.
Yeah, I appreciate that. There's also like an element of like, you know, like, are you the sailor? Are you the siren?
Yeah, I thought it was you and Reed.
Well,
I thought it was.
Me too.
I thought it was you and Reed. Like, you know.
Yeah. I mean, that's like whenever like Reed is like at the pop-ups and helping out, it's like, who's the sailor, who's the siren is like the joke. Or like even like as a customer, like, are you a sailor or a siren? And it also like lends itself really nicely to like the names that I use on the menu. So yes, it was a little bit, because like part of my inspiration for this is Reed, my life partner's husband. And so yes, it is kind of like a nice like duo thing. And that is kind of like why this one like came up and like when I was brainstorming, and people seem to like it. So
I also really like how you focus in on Greenpoint. Like, that's obviously where you live, and all your pop-ups have been local restaurants, local bars. You're supporting local businesses. So I feel like that's like a really nice touch. How did you, I guess, kind of find the first customers to come to your pop-up, given that you only had 2 weeks?
Yeah. One of the constraints that I gave myself was I don't want to spend any money on marketing. Because I mean, totally bootstrapped, and I've also seen like the perils of how spending a ton on marketing, you know, particularly being a consumer VC, it's like all about cost of customer acquisition, all of that. And I just really wanted to build like a community driven, authentic brand that just like brings people in because the quality is really good. So I actually think that being Greenpoint specific has really helped with that, because I've been able to cultivate a brand to a very specific neighborhood and area, like the Greenpoint Williamsburg crowd. And honestly, it was flyers. I just printed out physical flyers and I flyered the entire neighborhood.
Love that.
And somehow, like, turns out people look at flyers.
People show up.
And like, we'll scan a QR code and follow on Insta and show up. And
that is shocking. I don't think I've heard that marketing strategy in a minute.
Wow.
It's awesome, though.
It's very old school, and I wasn't sure if it was going to work.
That is definitely going to be like your memoir story. Like, unhinged things I did. I literally printed out flyers
like ran around the city.
Ran around Brooklyn in 2025. That's amazing.
It is like embarrassing how much time I spend flyering. It's not.
Wait, you continue
I
to do
still
that.
fly. I still flyer because
Wow.
I let me tell you, like, it works. I don't.
Wow.
That's crazy. I wonder if it's because it's in Greenpoint specifically, and like there probably is like, you know, name recognition because they've seen it around, and that makes sense. So I feel like it is super
like the
community oriented.
aspect. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Exactly. And then there's also like when you're partnering with a restaurant or a cafe or a bar, they like, you know, they'll put the flyer up,
Of
and
course.
like they
They'll
also
post on
have
social media.
They'll post on social. So like even like, you know, I started the Instagram account, like had 0 followers, but then like they're posting and tagging so people see. And then, you know, as a pop-up, people are like in the bar, so they'll see you.
Of course.
So I think probably, you know, at first it was the flyers, and it was also just like the foot traffic and people in the bar. But the nice thing of how this has evolved is actually now most of the customers that come specifically for us, which is also really
that's
exciting.
great.
And it's just been really beautiful to have regulars and
That's
loyal
really cool.
customers who bring their friends. We did a Hamptons pop-up.
Oh,
on
cute.
Labor
Yeah, that
Day,
totally tracks.
which and like some of the people from Greenpoint happened to be in the Hamptons that day and like came, and they were like, oh, like we saw, and I was like,
Oh
my
gosh.
regulars like are coming when they're not. Yeah, like it was just crazy. So I just like, I feel very supported by the Greenpoint community, and I think I feel very lucky that that's where I started this brand.
Yeah. So when you partner with these bars and restaurants, you're using their kitchen. Is that what happens? And like effectively revenue sharing? Is that the kind of structure? Is that the business model?
Yeah, it's not. It's surprisingly, oftentimes it's not even revenue share.
Wow.
Like a lot of these places don't have a food offering, and it's a great way for them to get more people in, right? Like someone buys lobster roll, then they'll go buy a beer.
Okay.
And it's also just like helps them like keep things fresh and like do fun things.
Or like people will come in who don't normally like get new customers.
Exactly.
So when you're targeting, what is like your target bar or coffee shop or whatever that you're like, this is perfect for me for a pop-up?
Yeah. So a lot of people have asked, like a lot of my customers, like, you know, how do you pick like where you are, like what do you like the best? And for me, like all of life, and like particularly this is all about the people.
Yeah.
And so I love working with places where like the owner or the manager is just like a great person and so fun to work with.
Yeah.
And I think that that's almost kind of like the revenue share question. Like I sort of assumed that they were going to like ask me to like pay or something, but a lot of these places are like, they're small businesses. They get it. They know that they benefit. It doesn't really like detract at all.
Yeah, so they're doing all the work, right?
Yeah.
Like you're showing up. You have. It's not like it's costing them anything.
No, it doesn't cost. It doesn't cost them anything.
Like it only is an upside to them.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, and there are some places who have asked for things like that, right? Like for like revenue share and things like that. But I think a lot of them are just like they're also very collaborative and community driven, and they're like, that sounds fun. Let's do it. And that's the kind of approach that I just love. And that's kind of like how I pick who I work with is people are just like excited about doing fun things together. But yeah, I mean, I started by just going to my favorite places and then it's expanded from there. Like I've gotten some reach outs because like other bar owners have heard about it, or some of my regulars have like told their like favorite cafe that they should have me. And then like that cafe owner reaches out. So it's like, it has been very community driven, which I think we keep going back to, but that is sort of like the heart and soul of this brand.
That's awesome.
Would you ever expand beyond Greenpoint, you think?
For sure. I definitely want the brand to be further reaching. I think there is a world in which the next step is a physical location. And if I were to do that, I think it would be the Greenpoint Williamsburg area, given that's where the community is. But then like I think a future location I think could be elsewhere as well. And I think pop-ups are a nice way to test a market to see if there is excitement and to see if it's a fit.
I agree. I think pop-ups are a really great strategy. I feel like often there's a cult following. Like Haw Snack Bar was a pop-up. I was following them all around the city. Now they have a physical location and possible to get into. So it's really like nice to cultivate that community as we talked about. Totally. So that's super fun.
That's amazing. And how has it sort of your strategy shifted since we're now getting into winter? Because I think of like pop-ups in summer a lot easier. People are bopping around, especially in Brooklyn. They're running around going to bars, breweries, whatever. Yeah. A little bit less now. We're getting into the months of darkness. How are you?
I hate the months of darkness.
I'm like, how are you shifting your strategy? Even though now I know you are established a little bit.
No, but yeah, it's a great point because there's just going to be less foot traffic. And a lot of our really successful pop-ups is when we were outside, right, over the summer and all of that. And what we talked about, like lobster rolls also have an association with summer food. So I think there's a menu element that I've changed. So I've done some soup pop-ups. So
cute.
I created my own lobster chowder, lobster bisque, and lobster noodle soup.
Wow. How did you create those?
Yeah. So
did you cook them yourself?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and they're all based on like lobster stock from the lobsters.
Wow.
That like, you know, from my in-laws' wharf and everything. So it's like the lobster stock is like really flavorful and really fresh. And then, you know, the lobster meat that goes into everything. So those have been really fun recipe developments. And I think the soup pop-ups have actually worked, even like when it's cold, like maybe a little bit more daytime as opposed to nighttime, like during the weekends. And then I recently did the supper club concept.
Oh yes, tell us about that.
Yeah, and that was a sit-down dinner that was like meant to be. It was kind of like one big table. People bought tickets, and it started with a caviar tasting, and then lobster bisque, and then a full steamed lobster with a side salad, and then a dessert.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Tell us about that. That must have been a whole different thing and probably very stressful.
Yeah, it was a whole different thing, and it definitely was stressful because of like whenever you try something new. And yeah, sit down dinner, like much bigger price point, you know, like selling tickets in advance. So yes, it was interesting, but what I loved about it was that it was a collaboration. So we did it at a cafe called Follow House, which is
I've heard
it's
of
like
that.
it's next to Cafe Pana in Greenpoint, and it's founded by this amazing female entrepreneur, Leah.
Oh, amazing.
And they have a beer and wine license, so we used her space and like she did the drink service. Along the way, I met this woman named Pooja, who's the founder of Practically Picnics, and she does tablescapes and decor. So we partnered with her to do that. I was looking for a photographer for it, and a local Greenpoint guy reached out. Turns out his wife is like starting to be a baker and wants to start her own bakery, so like she did the dessert. So it was this really beautiful way to just bring a bunch of relatively new entrepreneurs together to kind of, it was a big undertaking, but I had all these amazing people around me helping. So we kind of did that together. And it was a great way to kind of bring in a lot of my regulars and loyal customers as like a trial run where I'm like, this probably isn't going to go perfectly, but the food will good.
But
it's
a good,
good.
It's a good audience.
Yeah.
And if you're feeding people something good, like, they forgive a lot.
Exactly.
Right?
I'm like, I can promise the food's going to be good and the community will be here. And then beyond that, we'll see what happens.
That's awesome.
But it was really fun. And I think that I just have like at this point, like a list of all these ideas that have existed in my head related to lobster that I want to try. And so I think in the cold months, I'm just going to be doing things like that.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Like trying different models and like seeing what works, what doesn't work, and taking it from there, and then seeing if a physical location makes sense or kind of like, whatever the next step may be based on that data.
A summer pop-up too for the whole summer. That would be super cool.
Yeah.
That's
exactly.
Amazing.
I love soup, and there's a lack of soup in New York, so you gotta
there is like, I can't
that.
think of a good place with lobster bisque, honestly.
Especially for like lunch and like quick grab and go places.
Exactly. Yeah, so I'm also thinking through like delivery, both like of food, but also maybe of like lobster roll kits. Like I'll give you like the ingredients to do it. Part of our brand is also like the only variations we do in the lobster roll is like adding caviar or adding uni, which is sea urchin, and we get Maine uni.
Cool.
Because again, I don't think lobster rolls need much, but like a standalone high quality ingredient addition is like something that I think is like very much me and very much on brand. So also kind of like doing just like more education around caviar and uni and like, I think stuff like that I think people can get excited about.
Would you ever do like a scallop roll and other variations?
Yes, I've gotten a lot of questions about that, so particularly about crab.
Yeah.
And I love scallops. I love crab. I would love to do more seafood in general. But I think part of what's made this work really well so far is the laser focus. And at first, laser focus for the first like 3 months on only lobster rolls. And now like broadening it a little bit, but within the scope of lobster. Just because it's a really tiny team. It's like me plus like some support. I want to do one thing really, really well. And once that's like established as like a really strong foundation, I would then be excited to like add on. Because I do think there's like really great stuff to do more with seafood. But I want to make sure that I and the brand are ready for that before we expand too much.
There's so many things you can do with lobster. Like the whole lobster, as you talked about, for your supper party.
Yeah.
Lobster pasta.
Yeah.
So many things.
Yeah, we've done specials over the summer. Like I made a lobster dip. We did lobster cakes, like instead of crab cakes, lobster cakes.
Cool. That sounds great. I don't think I've ever had a lobster cake, but I love crab cakes. So and lobsters, probably fire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, lobster's just really good, right? I'm like, I love crab, but like honestly, lobster's better.
Yeah.
Like I've bought crab before to experiment. Like, trying to innovate. Like, oh, maybe I'll do a crab dip, maybe I'll do a crab roll, and then whenever I compare it to the lobster version, I'm just like, I don't know, like the lobster one's better.
Yeah.
Just I would say crab feels a lot more accessible as well. I think there's a lot more crab. I feel like every high-end restaurant has a great crab cake or whatever. Or like it definitely feels a lot less special and differentiated.
Totally.
Especially in New York.
Yeah, I have less complaints about the crab offering in New York.
Correct.
I definitely agree with that. Although there's so many different kinds of crab.
Okay.
And I don't think that there is a ton of Jonah crab in New York, which is the main crab. And I do think it is really, really good. Cool. So I think there's a market to expand into that. And at some point, I will start doing things with Jonah crab, but we're just not there yet.
Yeah. And obviously lobster, I feel like, is complicated. Like, it's expensive. The availability fluctuates. There's, like, a shortage and stuff. I know you obviously have this great relationship with your supplier. Yeah. But how have you managed that, too?
Yeah, and I think that that's one of the reasons why it's tough to do a lobster roll and why a lot of people haven't done it successfully. I think it lends itself to being an expensive product and to being food waste heavy sometimes. I'm very anti-food waste. Like, I was raised in a household in which, like, there is no food waste. And so that was really important to me starting a food business. Like, I didn't want to have to be throwing out a bunch of stuff. So, yeah, the price of lobster does change. I'm very upfront about that on my social media. So even when we publish our menus for each pop-up, I'm like, you have to DM me for the prices, because I'm not going to know until like the day before, because I get it fresh, right? Like I'm driving to the Bronx at 5 a.m. Like I find out like the day before how much it's going to cost.
Okay, so you say like market price or whatever. Yeah.
I say market price, but I'm like, if you DM me, I'm going to like, I will know at that point, and I'm going to tell you. Yeah. And I kind of, it is like within a certain band that I like to keep it. And even if it gets, like, I don't want the roll to be expensive. So there are times where like lobster prices are lower, like I will make the price of the roll lower, and when it's higher I'll make it a little bit higher, but sometimes I'll like take a bit of a cut on the margin if I can, because I want this to be something that is accessible. But I think because I only do lobster, and because it's kind of because of the cult following and the like basically selling out at every event, I'm able to make it work, right? Like I don't have a ton of food waste, which also helps with the margins. It's like I know that whatever I buy, I'm gonna sell. So I don't have to kind of account for the food waste element when I'm pricing, which I think a lot of restaurants, when lobster is just like a menu item, they have to buy lobsters, but also probably throw out a lot of lobster meat if people don't order it. Versus for me, it's like, you know, there was one pop-up where like I sold out in like 35 minutes, and it was like, it was crazy. I mean, usually it's like on average it's like 2 hours, right? But sometimes
that's crazy though.
Sometimes it's wild. But the whole selling out concept helps like not have food waste. I'm able to track inventory. I'm able to be like really focused on just like one product, and it just makes it so that I'm not like losing a ton of money on stuff that I don't sell. So it simplifies everything. Like the direct supply plus the focus on lobster plus the like kind of brand that I've built that allows me to sell out has made it so that it can be an accessible thing, and I don't have to price it too high.
That's awesome.
And I know that we talked about kind of transitioning into the winter and like different types of things you could do with the lobster, but what else are you focused on right now in the next, little bit?
Yeah, I think honestly just building the brand and trialing a few different things. So I haven't had time to really do a lot of content or marketing beyond the flyers.
It's like honestly amazing.
Like
honestly, like I think we should throw some women's sling flyers around.
We should.
Like I'm inspired.
We have some
right
stickers.
now.
So.
I'm inspired.
I'm like a pro at hanging them up now. So if you want me to be the one to hang them up, like
we can do a flyering trip. We can do a flyering trip.
Yeah, I'd be honored. I would love it.
Okay.
But yeah, so I wanna figure out the content strategy, because I think there's a lot of education to be done on lobster. As clearly I have a lot to say about it, right? Like I feel like we probably talked.
You're very knowledgeable. Like honestly, I mean, I will definitely an expert. Like for sure. I learned a lot of new info.
Thank you for saying that. And I do feel like we probably got way more in the weeds of lobster than you guys were expecting.
No,
but I love it too.
I think it's super interesting.
Everyone loves lobster.
Oh, awesome. Yeah.
But like, I just think that there's probably so much more on Instagram and TikTok that I can do in terms of, because I say all these things at the pop-ups, right? Like people ask me, I like talk about all of this, but on social media, the only thing I've really done is like just like post like a picture of the flyer.
Yeah.
Or,
like show up here at this time.
Exactly. Like my social media strategy hasn't been any like education around around the lobster. I also think there's like a lot of caviar education, which we got to start at the supper
uni.
club.
I mean, I love everything,
uni.
but I would say uni is probably the one thing I struggle with.
Yeah. It's polarizing.
Yes, for sure. Even though I've had it and it's been amazing. So I feel like there's definitely some uni info you can put out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that I think people would be excited to learn more about all of those things. So I want to figure out what the right content strategy is for Sailor and Siren, just like further build the brand and get information out there for people. And then I want to try out delivery. I want to try out kits. I want to work on some more of my recipes. And yeah, I mean, we'll see where it goes, but it's like one of those things where I just have all these ideas rattling around in my head, and I just have to like one by one test them out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And like the solo entrepreneur thing, which we discussed, has like made it hard, I think, to, it's kind of, I have to do one thing at a time, unfortunately. And I would love to like at some point get to a point where I'm like building out my team and then able to like test more things at once. But for right now, it's kind of slow and steady, focus on quality and community, and then we'll see where it goes.
That's amazing. And how many events do you typically aim to do, kind of like in total? What's like your goal? Or is it just like whatever you can?
It's kind of 2 to 3 per week.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
At least that's what it was over the
crazy.
summer.
That's way more than I thought.
I had no idea.
Damn.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought you were, wow.
Over the summer, that's what it was.
That's a lot.
It's much less now.
Okay.
Now that it's colder and I'm like kind of changing up the models. Mm-hmm. So like, this past weekend, a supper club was just one night. So that was one.
But that was
per
a lot
week.
of work.
Exactly. It was a very different kind of thing.
And probably like way higher revenue as well.
different, right? Like just different structure. Because also like fewer people, right? It was like an 18-person table,
event,
a high-end
right? Low
event.
volume, high ticket.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Right. So just like completely different like business model of that. But yeah, I don't necessarily have like a number of events that I'm targeting because I think all of this is still a little bit test and learn. So it's more so I'm just like trying to gather data on all of this stuff to figure out what the right next step is. Because I don't think the pop-up model is
long term
the end goal. It's information gathering at this point and brand building.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of.
I know. I hear the MBB training in there.
Yeah.
No, we love that.
The fact that we all knew.
I know. Okay, last question. Do you have a dream venue for a pop-up you would like love to host?
Oh, what a good question. I don't think I have one, which is, it's because like the best ones have been with the best people. So even if there's like a venue that like theoretically seems cool, I don't know if I want to work with them.
That's amazing.
It's about the people.
Because they have to be like wonderful collaborators. I think another thing that I'm thinking about is maybe doing like some like kitchen takeovers at restaurants.
Oh, cool.
So there's definitely some like dream restaurants that I would do that at, or like, maybe just like collaborating on like menu items with like a cool brand. Like, so I think that, there's like, if like there's like a cool ice cream brand that we can make like a lobster ice cream for like a week or something like that. Like sort of like limited edition items like that. I think like I definitely have like a list of brands or like dream collaborators from that standpoint.
That's awesome.
Cafe Pana, manifest.
Yeah, manifest.
Right now.
I'm gonna like
and
I
please
am
listen to this episode.
I mean,
Cafe Pana, listen to this
literally.
episode.
It's okay. We've had some good women's playing manifest on
Yeah,
here.
we have,
It's all
yeah.
good. We've all been like, I would love to be in this store, and they end up doing it. So.
Yeah, see, I'm hesitant to say it because I'm like, what if it doesn't happen? But I guess that's the whole point of
that's the whole
being
point.
vulnerable.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, for example, like would love a Cafe Pana Sailor and Siren flavor.
That's sick.
And
Put
they
it
do
in the
so many
universe.
collabs.
They do a ton.
yeah.
I would love a
Amazing.
pop-up bagel Sailor and Siren cream cheese
Oh,
or
if you're
butter.
listening.
And
Wait,
or butter.
that would be sick.
Yeah.
That would be sick.
So yeah, I have like a list like that. Like even like a Van Leeuwen. Like Van Leeuwen was started in Greenpoint.
Really?
And their
I didn't know
innovation
that.
lab is in
Cool.
Greenpoint.
Cool.
And so like that could be like a different
Great,
type
like
of
July flavor. Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, I have like a dream of lists like collabs like that I would love to do. And yeah, so let's manifest that some of those work out.
Yeah, we're gonna manifest it. I mean, I want a lobster cream cheese, so I'm here for it.
Yeah.
Okay, no, this has been so fun. Like honestly, it's such a pleasure to have you on.
Oh, yeah, the best time.
I know, like
Yeah.
literally,
Yeah.
I'm so excited
so
for
happy.
you. We always end on this question. We have a lot of young listeners. So if what advice would you give to a young person who wants to start their own business?
Yeah, my biggest piece of advice is just take action. Just do it. Like for lack of a better way, Nike, right? Just do it. It's so easy to overthink and overanalyze and just get into analysis paralysis. And also then to just like when you're doing that, get in your head and doubt yourself. I think that really being an entrepreneur is understanding that there are no mistakes. There is only lessons and data and information. And something doesn't go well, that's amazing because you just learned that that's not the right move. And I think a lot of our society just puts so much pressure on getting things perfect. And like a lot of us, like myself very much included, like I have such a fear of making mistakes. And I think that's what delayed me to becoming a founder until now. And I just really had to get over that mental hurdle of like, just take action, try things, and use it all as a learning experience. And like that will just like then like bring you closer and closer to where you're meant to be and like on the right path. So that's my biggest advice. Just take action and don't put too much emphasis on when things go wrong because it is okay. Shit always goes wrong and it's a beautiful thing.
No, especially as women, I think we can be so hard on ourselves. And honestly, like, we're awesome. We should just
do it.
Just do
Mend
stuff.
it all
And
the
just
time.
because it went wrong doesn't mean it was a mistake.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
There are no mistakes.
Awesome. Well, Natalie, where can we find you? Where can we find Sailor and Siren?
Yeah, follow us on Instagram and on TikTok. It's at sailor.and.sirens, like the periods, like sailor period and period siren. You can email us at sailorandsirenShack@gmail.com. And I have a website, but it's not really up yet, but it is going to be SailorandSirenShack.com.
Okay.
If you're interested in some of our like delivery options and things like that. So yeah, follow us on social, and I answer all the DMs and emails myself. So if anyone has any questions,
my God, that's
like
amazing.
it is going to be me who responds.
Aw. I might just hit you up just so I can get some emails from Natalie. Well, thank you so much for coming on, Natalie. Everyone, thank you so much for listening. As always, you can find us at Womansplain Pod on all the socials, and hello, womansplainpod.com if you have any questions. Thank you so much, Natalie, and everyone, go eat Sailor and Siren, and support local lobster farms. We love it.
Yeah, go Lobster.
Thank you.
Thank you.